My guest is a stand-up comedian and tattoo artist from Action Tattoo and Piercing. He specializes in black and gray portrait tattoos. He's also a professional poker player. Excited to welcome Rich White.
Hello, welcome. I feel welcome.
Thanks for coming on,
very
buddy.
Welcome.
Yeah, I'm glad you came up this way, man. It's
deep.
We fucking jump right into it here, so it's a little. Thank you for bringing the art up too. I don't know if the cameras get them completely in here, but yeah. I don't know. It might not be in the shot. We'll eventually get it worked in there. But how you doing, buddy?
I'm good. I feel great. I had a little bit of a drive to get up here, but it was smooth sailing. There wasn't a single bit of traffic, and here I am.
It's nice when on the weekends like this, dude. It's. I ended up staying down that way almost the entire weekend this weekend because it was like I was at Nate's club and just couldn't. That bubble around Tacoma is brutal.
Yeah. I live a mile from where you did the show at the mill.
Oh yeah.
I live like right there. So.
Shallop.
Oh, it's Edgewood. It's just up the hill, but it's right there. So for me, that is my little area. I don't venture this way too often.
Dude, it's a nice area down there. But I mean, is that where you started stand up?
I just started stand up. I started in Auburn.
Okay.
At a little bar that's no longer there. That's where it started.
Yeah.
7 months ago. I just started.
Yeah. What do you think about it so far?
Wow. I love it. It's genuinely different from what I'm used to.
It's not tattooing.
No, you get in your comfort zone. So it's nice to be forced into a position where you kind of have to produce or else you're going to feel very, very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's been one of those dreams I've had my whole life. I always wanted to do it. I was scared to do it like everybody else because what if you suck? Like, what if you suck?
And you do when you start for sure. Like everybody does. So it's just like, it's part of the deal.
So it's on the down low. I did 8 or 7 sets. I didn't tell, like my wife is the only person I told. I think. And then I had one friend, my friend Arlen showed up to one of them. And my friend Jeremy, who also does stand up, who kind of got me in that.
Yeah. Jeremy Thompson.
Yeah. He goes, Jeremy Lamont. He's a really funny guy. I've known him for 20 plus years. He actually said, come watch me. I want to see if
if he can do this, anybody can do it.
Well, yeah, no.
Sorry,
so the truth is, I found out that, and I will tell anyone that's listening, if you ever thought about doing stand up, you should go find an open mic. It's amazing that the crowd, no matter how raw, how green, how nervous you are, they support you.
Yeah, in Washington. In other places, like
I've only been in a couple states.
Yeah,
but no, I was like, okay, cool. But they laughed. I got laughs, so I was like, oh wow, this felt great. Like I really felt. It's true, the high that comes from doing it.
For sure.
It's a wild feeling.
Dude, I forgot to mention, if you are watching this on YouTube, hit that like button, subscribe, hit the notifications bell so you don't miss our upcoming content. And then we are on Patreon if you want to support the podcast, patreon.com/FNFpod. Sorry to jump around a little bit.
No, you're good.
So you ended up going to the store, though.
Okay, so here's a great story, I suppose. My close friend, like a brother to me. We've been tight since we were 14 years old. He went to church with a guy who was getting into comedy, ended up getting pretty successful in it. I met him one time about 17 years ago. We hit it off. That really inspired me to maybe one day. It had been in my head since hanging out that day. And it's Jimmy Shin, who's
I've worked with Jimmy before.
He great comedian, really smart promoter, really like he hustles, and that's what I see that I really admire about him. But anyway, I hadn't seen him in years, and my friend Caesar, after the show, it was like I think my 8th show or something. No, it was not my 8th. It was a little bit farther down. He called Jimmy and was like, Jimmy, do you remember Rich? And he's like, yeah. He's doing stand-up now. And he's like, yeah, I know. He reached out to me on Facebook. And so I sent him, he says, send me his tape. I want to see his tape. And I only had the one tape from that evening.
Yeah.
Because that was the 8th time I had ever done stand-up. There was another tape, but I didn't like it. So I sent him the tape, and he's like, give me a couple days. I'm busy. I'll check it out. I'll get back to you. He gets back to me, and he's like, yeah, it was funny. I really enjoyed it. That was great. If you're ever in California. And then I said, well, I got a lot of people out there trying to get me to come out. So he's like, oh, well, come do my show. And I was like, all right, sure.
Yeah. And that was at the store?
Well, I didn't know it at the time.
Yeah.
I just said like, sure, here, send me a headshot. And I'm like, oh shit, I'm so unprofessional. I don't even have a headshot. I still don't, you know? And so I just took my Facebook profile pic and I sent it to him and thanked him. And then the next day I woke up and there was a text from him with the flyer for the main room of the Comedy Store in Hollywood, California. And it was really funny to me because like I don't care. Are we allowed to cuss on here?
Yeah.
Like I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
I'll go up on the Comedy Store stage. I don't care. It's
Had
the same
you
as
been to the store before?
No, man. To be honest, Adam, it wasn't even a thought in my head. It was never even like when I was a senior in high school, underneath this class picture, when you're a senior, they asked you a question. Where do you see yourself in 20 years? You know, all the football players, of course, be like
NFL.
Super Bowl winner.
Yeah.
I put stand-up comedy at the Improv. Like that's what I put on my senior year. Like I can provide you a clip. It's a funny picture of me too. I'll provide you a clip of that. It says so. And so it's always been in my head. Mm-hmm. It's always been in my head. And
well, who were your guys? Like who did you look up to? Or who were you a fan of?
My stepdad growing up was a junk dealer. He bought Storage War stuff and sold it at swap meets, antique stores, whatever. He kept all the albums. He had 100,000 albums.
Damn.
And he would play the George Carlin albums. And I remember probably 12, 13 years old, really digging in and listening to the Carlin records and just finding humor. Like he made fun of the sound that it makes when you scrape a Rice Krispie off a bowl and made a bit about it. And it was hilarious. And I was 12 and I'm laughing at George Carlin.
It's so weird too. All of his stuff was so auditory. Like it played so well on an album.
Yeah.
Whereas like everything now is visual and
a lot of visual.
Yeah. But like you could listen to Carlin and be dying laughing in the car.
Yeah. Basically any comedy album that he played. I mean, Bob Newhart. Hilarious.
Yeah.
Hilarious, dude. Like who'd have thought?
Clean, right?
The albums that we heard, these are like from the 50s and 60s. So they're all basically clean. But those guys there kind of set the foundation. And my stepdad, it was really funny to get a grasp on what was funny. I was watching Three Stooges when other kids were watching cartoons. You know what I mean? I for whatever reason,
I always find it interesting how people like find comedy.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's usually like your dad or somebody that you appreciate or like look up to, and they're like, hey, here's this thing. It's like, don't talk about it, but this shit's really funny and it's taboo kind of. And then you start listening, you're like, what the fuck is this? But I always, when I started stand-up, I was like, oh shit, these are all these people that are into this thing too.
Yeah.
It's such a strange like interest or whatever you want to call it.
Culture.
Yeah.
It is. Are you talking about the local scene, like people entering it, or just in general?
I mean, some of the like bigger comics that I've worked with, they're the same way where they're like, hey, have you seen, Geraldo's special where he does that huge riff in the middle? And like, it's like, it's like almost talking about like athletes or sports, like moments in history and sports.
Sure.
And
sure. Yeah.
But if you talk to like regular people, they have no knowledge of it at all or care either. Like, what the fuck are you nerd? Like there's something kind of nerdy about comedy.
Yeah, they're not into the nuances. I think they're into the punchline. They like get the joke and it's over. But studying it, which is what we do, right?
Yeah.
You go to a club, like if we go to say Tacoma Comedy Club or whatever. I've said it before. First of all, I'm super green, so all of my stuff is just like spur of the moment. This is how I feel right now. I'm not saying this is how it is, but I've always tried my hardest to tell jokes to the back of the room where the other comics are.
Yeah.
Rather than the crowd for some reason. And I think it's just a need for acceptance or a need for validation or something. But for me, that was like, and also I just feel they're more like-minded.
Oh, for sure.
and if I say something completely whacked out that they might not get in the crowd, but one of the guys in the back laughed, that was it. So yeah, that's true. I love the comedy stuff. There's no money in it. Like really overall there could be, it's potentially there, but it's a labor of love. And, I don't know how long I'll be messing around with it. I don't see myself as the next Chris Rock, which was what your question was. Who do I admire?
Yeah.
Chris Rock, dude.
Really?
Chris Rock.
What do you think of his last special?
I loved it. I loved it. He still got it. I mean, he's great. I think he's the most natural comic. He's just like, you'd think if you hung out with him, he probably is acting exactly like that. You know, there's just something natural about the way he does his
What do you think of his shoes, though?
God, I don't remember his shoes.
You didn't notice?
No.
He's wearing, go back and watch and just pay attention. Yeah. It's just kind of a running joke about his shoes in that special. Like,
oh, really?
There were a couple things, like production-wise, like the mirrors in the background of that special, they were all dirty and shit.
Yeah, you really paid attention.
Yeah.
Shit, I was like laying in bed, like without glasses on, so probably I didn't notice his shoes or whatever.
Yeah, I think when you start thinking about like, oh, if I wanted to do something myself, you start looking at those details.
Sure.
And it, I mean, as you did when you came in here, like there's not art in here.
Weird. Yeah, I felt like weird in here. It's like,
yeah,
am I leaving? Am I going to be leaving this room? Yeah. This is it. Oh, this is
Everett, dude.
No, yeah.
So back to the store though. Like you went there, you
the best time.
Really?
Amazing time. Like,
what day of the week was the show on?
It was a late Thursday show, and we damn near sold it out. There was 266, I believe.
Damn.
Yeah.
And do you have like a following in LA a little bit?
I'm lucky enough that my job as a tattoo artist, combined with social media, conventions, and just traveling and meeting people and knowing people all over the country, that it's played beneficial to my comedy.
For sure.
I went to Chandler, Arizona. I had 13 people show up that knew me, which was cool.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not a whole lot, but it's great because you got 13 people there to support you, and then you feel a certain connection because your people are there.
13 people is still 13 people. Like, it's not easy to get people to come out to shows.
I did 30 at the Comedy Store.
Damn.
I had over 10%. I was like, yes, so here's the best part. Again, it's sort of like a fake it till you make it moment for me in Hollywood.
Yeah.
Because I still don't know what to do. Like, I don't know if you do. You've got way more experience than I do, but I don't know what to do. I'm still trying to do this. I'm like developing. I've read this book on finding a comedic character, and I'm like, oh, that's so great, because whenever I tell jokes at the shop, if they're like inappropriate, oh, hey, I use this voice, right? Like, because it wasn't me. It was that dumb guy over there that said it.
Yeah.
And I'd get laughs. So I was like, okay, if I just play it safe with that guy. So I
kind of a Dice Clay type
Rodney
model.
Dangerfield, the Dice Clay. It's based off of family and friends that are just, it's like I don't even know where it came from, to be honest. It just sort of like, it came out one day, and talking to some people, they're like, keep it. And I was like, okay, I feel more comfortable, so I'll just keep it. Anyway, so my friends got me wired up, and we're cruising around the town doing little promo stuff. I like to goof off, and if I travel and do a little promo outside. And we did one promo. They liked it, so I mic'd up, and we were leaving the show. This is so great. It was like perfect. They couldn't have asked for it any better. We're leaving the hotel. Some people are leaving the hotel, and they're talking about the Comedy Store. So we're like, my friend's like, yeah, he's performing. What room? The main room. That's where we're going. Woo! So we're crossing the street, I'm just across from the Comedy Store. And this crowd's following me. I'm being filmed, and I got people following me, and they're all excited about the show. So I get across there, and there's like Bobby Lee's out having a drink. So I'm like, hey, Bobby Lee, what's up? Like, I know him, and hey. And so I noticed the crowd starting to follow me a little more, and I get to the front to the Comedy Store, and all my people are standing in line, and they start screaming for me, right? Richie. So anyone that doesn't know that these are the people that I've known my whole life that just happen to be in California.
Like, who is this guy?
They're filming him. He's got this crowd. So, and then I got to meet a guy named Ron Murphy, who's the producer, director of the Trailer Park Boys.
Yeah.
I met him earlier, and he came to my show to watch me.
Fuck yeah.
So it was just like this dream where I'm rubbing elbows with the who's who.
Yeah. How did the set go? Was it good?
I feel like I did good. Jimmy came up to me afterwards, and he's like, dude, you killed the Comedy Store. I can't believe you did it. You did it. And I was like, I mean, I don't have to describe to you how I was, because I know you've been there.
Yeah.
But to the people listening that haven't experienced this, I don't even know, like a euphoric sort of like,
oh, dude, it's
happiness,
the best.
this content. This is like, it was such a feeling. Aside from my wife, meeting her, marrying her, aside from my kids, the single greatest moment of my life.
Yeah. I had the opposite feeling last night.
Sweet. Tell me.
I just, dude, I don't know. Sometimes stand-up is so fleeting too, where like you have those incredible moments, but then you also have these moments you're like, God, like I've been I've been doing this every night for a long period of time, and it's like, oh, going back to school here tonight, and fuck, man, I was at Nate's club, and it was just like, I'm following Nate on stage, and I didn't, going into the show, I was like, man, I just don't feel very funny right now. Like, I don't know what it was yesterday. I just couldn't find it during the day. And I'm like, fuck, this is not good. And then people start coming into the room and shit. And, you know, it was a great, like, anytime I have those moments like that, like, it hurts, right? Like, you're just like, fuck, man. Yeah. But at the same time, like, what do I need to learn from that situation, and how do I not repeat that? I think that's the only thing you can do. Because if you're like an athlete and you're getting dunked on, you're like, okay, that sucked. How do I not let that happen again, right?
What did you conclude?
I'm still working through it. Yeah.
See, every time I've ever seen you, it's very polished, very professional, very consistent. I'm having a hard time imagining, because you seem like one of the more
I think
polished.
That was probably part of it, is that, like, certain audiences don't want, like, just shit presented to them. They want looser and, like, more real. And I came out too structured, and, like, I just didn't. So much of stand-up, like, where I'm at right now with it, is realizing, like, fuck, I got to get myself comfortable. And getting yourself, like, they're always like, oh, what's going on with how's the audience tonight? It's like, fuck that. Like, how do you feel right now? Because that's going to dictate what you do up there more than.
Yeah. Because they read you, like, they know.
You have the microphone, like, it's not. And they can. The audience can fuck up shows or whatever, but, like, going into it with, like, I don't know. You know what it was? I was up till 4 o'clock in the morning the night before, and that was worth it. But
I was just gonna say, something tells me there's a woman involved.
It was definitely worth it. But then I woke up, went to, like, brunch, and fucking ate just a huge stack of pancakes.
Oh,
right?
There you go. That'll do it every time.
Yeah, and I'm 33 now, dude. It's starting to, like, you can't do that shit super regular. And I just went back to sleep, and I woke up, I'm like, I still feel weird today. You know, it's just I can't.
Well, you had, like, a cup of flour and you ingested it.
Yeah, just yeast, flour, and eggs. Like, I don't ever eat that shit either. But it was like, I was up till 4. I was feeling good about, like, you know, who I was at that moment. Jesus Christ, man.
I think pancake is an example of where the sum is greater than the. You know what I mean? It's like, if you disassemble it, and
like, why would I eat this? Yeah, exactly.
A cup of flour.
It doesn't make any sense.
I wouldn't want it. I still don't eat them.
Did I mention my Jimmy story to you?
No, you did not.
Because I've worked with Jimmy before, and it was 4 shows with him. It was him and Lucas Seeley, and he has his merch is towels that he sells, but they're like cum towels is what they are.
People love them too.
This was like an early learning moment for me in comedy, where he did this show, and dude, he did great on every other show, but it was just an example of, like, how any given night anybody can have one, and he just had, like, from the very beginning, it was off. Something was off. And it was like 20 minutes of pain, which, you know, everybody's been in that situation before, but he still had his merch to sell at the end. And, like, sometimes if I'm doing, like I didn't pitch merch last night. Like, I was just like, yeah, this did not go well enough for me to warrant, like, I'm like, I can't do it. And he's got the cum towel, right? And so it's like, he did that full set, and, you know, power through, to his credit and all that.
He's a pro.
But then at the very end, he has to pitch this towel, and it was like literally waving the white flag, but the white flag was a cum rag. It was one of my favorite moments, because any comic who's been in that situation, it's just like, fuck, man. And he was traveling, like, he was, you know, like, merch is important when you are traveling, but fuck, man, I saw that, I was like, God damn it, like, there's an aspect of this that's so fucking humbling, dude.
And, like, you've never experienced that kind of humility in any other walk of life.
No, just
there's nothing
through
you can do
silence too.
To a crowd full of people. It's not even like one-on-one. It's like, you're so outnumbered.
Oh yeah,
you're just outnumbered if it doesn't go well. It does suck. I've never bombed.
Really?
No, I'm just kidding. In my 30 sets, I've never. No, I've done some really. Oh God, it's been so hard. There's times I went up there to bucket in, early. I just bucket in. I'm still like reading frantically to try and remember what it was I thought might be funny, and no bucket. Everyone was showing up. It was packed. So I finally gave up and I started drinking, which was a big mistake. Yeah. So then all of a sudden Macy just calls me up with not even like on deck, just like, next up, Richie Spichala, Macy, get up here. Yeah, I love Macy. Yeah. And so I got up there and drew a blank. I think there's like tanking, bombing. There's probably different things. Like it wasn't that my jokes didn't go over well there. They have not gone over well because that's the kind of jokes I tell.
Yeah.
But in this case, it was just like, I forgot what I'm supposed to say. And then the realization, I don't know, does this happen to you where you start talking, you're trying to recover and you're saying your sets, but in your mind, you're having a whole nother conversation with yourself?
Dude, what's a scary moment is like, say you're doing a longer set and like you're doing your jokes, but then you start thinking about what do I have coming after this?
Yes.
And then it fucks me up because I'm like, wait, should I be thinking about this or should I be present in the moment? And like I don't really, I mean, there's people in comedy that I should probably be asking those questions to, but everybody's different. But when you start like, you have two things going on at the same time.
That's what I was doing.
Yeah.
That's what I was doing.
And then you start getting like it gets quiet and that fucking, like that drip of sweat goes down your back.
The moment that you realize that someone in the audience feels sorry for you, that's when it's like really shitty. Yeah. You're like, fuck, I'm supposed to be victorious up here.
It's been a minute since I've gotten off early. Oh. That's
just cut it short.
Yeah. That's because I think the best you can do in those situations is throw punches on your way. Like if you're going down, like just just at least fight it out. That was what I was doing last night where I was just like, Jesus Christ. Like you're not going to tell me, how I feel about me up here. Like it's just fuck you.
I'm the one that's got to go home and stay up all night thinking about it.
Yeah, exactly.
I've never played at Nate's. I have never even been there. I'd like to go check that place out.
It's sick. It's a great room. And like the headliner B Flat, she was one of the coolest people I've ever met. Like, incredible person and like so stoked to have got. And Ashley Russian was there. He was featuring the second night. Keon Lowry was there the first night. Both killed it. I mean, it was. Yeah. Ashley is fucking hilarious. Like if you haven't worked with him before,
I don't work with anyone too good.
If you're ever looking for somebody, he's down in Tacoma and he's great dude and his shit is so it's just different than anybody else locally. Like he just did the podcast a couple weeks ago and I mean he's a burn victim. Like he set himself on fire.
Oh jeez.
Meth wasn't involved.
Okay. Usually, as a tattooer, when I hear these stories, meth is involved.
Yeah.
But, okay, chimichangas. That's a new one.
Yeah, it was just the weirdest thing, but he ended up like he's got some bits about it. It's really good, but yeah, check him out if you can.
Yeah, I'm always checking. I had to slow down. I had to slow down a little bit on the comedy because work. I was taking a lot of time away from work, a lot of time away from poker, a lot of time. So in the last month, I really haven't been doing much. But the one thing I feel like I'm lacking the most is studying other people, because it's like I can rehearse my stuff all day long, but I kind of have to see what everybody's doing.
It's such a weird thing, dude, that you have to like be there and watching it, but you can't be there too much because then you're not living any life, and it's a strange, and it's constantly evolving. But
yeah, I mean, I don't know because I've just barely got my foot and dipped my toe in it. Yeah. So, but I don't know if it's changing. I hope it continues because the woke stuff's a little too much, I think, for me. Mm-hmm. I like telling jokes that push people's buttons a little bit, without crossing lines, and I like that. So I'm hoping that, I guess, call it my brand, someone else's brand that I stole of humor, starts coming out a little more.
Who influenced that for you?
What do you mean? Like,
were there particular comics that you saw doing that and you're like, oh, that's what I align with?
No, I don't know that that's really more of a connection to a comic as it is a sixth sense of humor. So yeah, no, I don't know that I like. I mean, I remember growing up when the Dice's first album came out, and that was like, whoa, this guy's like going there. You look at it now, and even like, God, how did he get away with 90% of that? Like,
well, a lot of people were pissed, right?
well, were they? I don't remember.
I thought he like kicked the door in for everybody.
I feel like, well, I mean, you could go back to like Lenny Bruce or whatever, but I think for mainstream I think everything changed when like cable TV. Like when cable came out and you were exposed to a lot more. You're in everybody's face. It's like MTV was real popular, so like hip comics were like Dice. I think timing was key for him.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of comics that have been doing dirty shit, but they've just been sort of they didn't make it to the Tonight Show.
No.
Or they didn't make it to whatever, Ed Sullivan.
Yeah, it wasn't broadcasted.
Yeah. So I'd possibly Dice. I think I just have a sick sense of humor, to be honest. And then being in an environment for the last like 20 some odd years, the tattooing industry, where everything goes. Like you could say anything in there.
Yeah.
Like you could just say the craziest shit and everyone, ha 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 ha, because no one takes it serious.
Yeah. Well, it's an interesting, when I came in, I think I had a very similar mindset.
Yeah.
I did. But then I realized like, oh, when you go in front of a collection of random people in the population, you have all these different backgrounds. So you kind of have to like at least understand where they're coming from.
Sure.
And then you pick your line. Like it, and I sort of I grapple with it. I do, because like I don't want to like fucking hurt anybody's feelings.
No,
that's not my goal with comedy,
Yeah.
but at the same time, like I have to say what I think is funny, and it's just this
Sometimes it
battle.
hurts.
Yeah, there's a battle.
Yeah, but it's your job. It's just to me, anything goes. It should be no holds barred. Comedy should have zero rules. Let the audience determine, like you're saying.
Yeah.
If your joke doesn't go over well, you picked the wrong crowd or
To
whatever.
play devil's advocate, though, say you're doing the joke that you're talking about where only the back of the room is laughing.
Yeah.
And the audience isn't laughing. Then what's your rebuttal to that?
Oh, well, okay. So I guess what I meant was more in what's allowed, not in that moment how to seize the crowd. A perfect example for me, I did Portland. There was a lady that's a comic. She's been doing it for longer than probably you've been alive. Maybe not so much me, but she was a very nice lady, and I already forgot her name. But man, they bust in for her. When I got out there, the whole front was boomers, and they were dressed to the nine. It was like they're going to church or out to dinner.
Yeah.
They were going out to the jazz night. You know, they were done up.
That was their shit.
It was big. There was 30 of them right there in the front.
Yeah.
And I go out and tell my Girl Scout bit about you can't. It didn't work.
Yeah.
I'll put it that way. I should have told my Three Stooges stuff, but I learned that day what we're talking about is I don't think that you should have to bend. I don't think it's bending to an audience. I think you should just be prepared to appeal to them with
Yeah.
something that you still think is funny. It just might not be disgusting, or it might not be, like borderline, like, whoa, make them laugh. Just,
Yeah.
I think
The less you have in common with those people, I think the harder it gets. Like it's fucking, I did a show in Seattle recently, and I'm just like, I don't live a life in any way similar to any of the like tech people in Seattle or just like super woke people in Seattle. And I don't want to be an asshole, but I'm also like, I don't know if I think any of these people are funny either. Like of course we don't share comedic sensibilities. Like it's this constant like walking on eggshells thing.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's complicated. I don't necessarily want to do comedy that appeals to the greater Seattle area either.
be their dancing monkey, just entertain
It's
them.
weird. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not worth it.
Very strange.
What kind of life? That's like going and working on a cruise ship and just singing Celebration over and over and over and over.
It's a weird dancing bear too.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, you're just like, do your thing, do your thing, do your thing. The beauty of what we're doing is you can always come up with new shit.
Yeah.
Something that matches something that's current, and you're not refined to what they want you to do,
Yeah.
which is
The unfortunate thing is that everything gets critiqued in real time though.
yes.
So
Yeah.
it's just, you did this one thing, therefore that defines you.
But what sucks about that is what if it doesn't go over, but it's fucking hilarious. It was just the wrong crowd. you got to keep trying it.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
You got to be the glutton for punishment to go in front of another crowd with the history that you got that do it again and do it again and do it again.
Yeah.
That's.
Let's talk about tattooing.
That's what I was going to say. What would you like to know about tattooing?
When did you start?
1994. Damn. 94, yeah. What year were you born?
89.
That's the year I graduated high school.
Okay.
In 94, well, shoot, we got to back it up. I started getting tattooed. You know, I'd like to say something. I don't know why I want to say this. I think this is in my head, but a lot of people don't give credit where credit's due for tattooing. This is weird. I'm bringing this up. The Red Hot Chili Peppers, I think, are directly responsible for my tattooing.
Really?
Yeah.
Why is that?
They had an album. It was like Blood Sugar Sex Magic, where in the inside of it was all their tattoos. They just took pictures of them. And at the time, it wasn't very mainstream.
It's a fucking great album.
Fucking, yeah, it's pretty good. It's a good album. So then we started getting tattooed. And then I started drawing them. And then next thing you know, I found some kid that wanted he had some equipment. We made a deal and I started tattooing. But if it wasn't for the Red Hot Chili Peppers, I don't think tattooing would be where it is. I think that I'm not alone in that with that album. I think every tattooer across the country got bombarded with Native Americans on the upper shoulder and tribal stuff on the tribal sons. And
so when you started, what were the trends in tattooing? Tribal.
Those I wasn't really in. There were no trends like that. It was barely still coming up. There was like a couple tattoo shops within like 40 miles of where I was at. So
which was in same place now?
No, that's California. But this is a long time ago. It wasn't that there were one on every block. And so, it wasn't mainstream. It wasn't mainstream. Honestly, it wasn't mainstream, I don't think, for years until the TV shows started coming out.
Really?
I think the TV shows like the Miami Ink and the LA Inks and all that, I think that's when it really like exploded. I think that we had a nice push. There's an era like right after like the late 90s when the magazines were hot. There was like tattoo magazines were the thing. If you can get in a tattoo magazine, now you're a name. There was no internet floating around, so you didn't know about the artists from Chicago. So then I guess internet really added to the other, and then it just went nuts.
Yeah.
But and I've been around for the bulk of the exciting part.
It seems like the West Coast is way more common. Because like when I go back to the Midwest, people aren't tattooed.
Oh, really?
Anywhere close to how much they are out here.
Man, I went and did a show in Arkansas. Those rednecks love them.
Yeah.
They were covered like hillbillies that looked like rockabillys. It was the strangest thing.
Really?
Yeah. They look like rockabillys, but they
yeah,
like
because
for
the longest time it was like this, there was connotations associated. Like, what was your first tattoo that you got?
A little decorative Southwestern ornamental cow skull with the Cult Loves logo. The logo.
Do you still have it?
Yeah.
You didn't, no cover up?
No, I haven't covered it.
Have you gotten anything covered?
So I lasered this arm here was,
oh shit.
It was one of those arms when you start tattooing in shops in the 90s and they're like, hey, let me bust it. Hey, let me bust this on you. And then it'll just be some random thing that they found in a book or on where.
Yeah, flash.
And so we're like, yeah, here, go ahead. And we just give up our arms and just get destroyed by coworkers that really weren't all that. And so I lasered this entire arm off, and now I'm having this, Brian Childs is doing this, and I need to get back and finish it. It's a Japanese piece. It's a piece of folklore. It's called Utsurubune. Mm-hmm. And what it is like, you should look this up. Utsurubune. There was a fishing town in Japan. It's like in the 1800s, like 1850 or 1805, and a craft washed up while all these fishermen were like doing their thing, and they'd never seen anything like it. And then a woman type figure with pale skin and reddish hair pops out holding a box, and there was like these letterings that they couldn't read, and they documented it. They actually made drawings and stuff. And if you look it up, I mean, it's a freaking UFO. It's just like a flying saucer and the like space letters. So I just went with that. And that's my theme on this one.
How much did the laser hurt?
Oh, I got a good laser story too. Lasering it sucks. Like tattooing doesn't feel like lasering. It's totally different. The best description I've come up with is if you think of like a BB gun and you pump it and pump it and pump it. So it's like, but instead of a BB, it's a little ball of bacon grease. And then they hold it about 3 inches from your body and shoot you with it. And then they do another and another, and they do about 1,600 of them in like a minute or whatever. It sucks.
Yeah.
So this one, the laser goes, it hits the pigment explodes, and then your body forces it out. I was working on a water feature, and it had this iron grate, and I had to reach in because the pump broke, and I was healing from lasering, and I got iron oxide, like this red rust inside of it. And so it healed, and you could see it. And I was like, "Oh, it's so weird. It stained me. So then I go get lasering, and that laser hit the iron oxide, and it was doing these like little explosions out of my wrist.
Is it kind of tight to see though when the laser hits?
Not normally it just makes a little white circle, but on this one you could see the stuff just like that was the worst pain up until kidney stones. That was the worst pain I'd ever felt.
Fuck that, man. Oh. Yeah, I don't want to get any of my shit lasered.
Don't.
Yeah, it's...
Yeah. But if you do, go to Cadell's Laser. So, tattooing is great. I enjoy tattooing. Tattooing has made me a very, very, very happy life.
So, like, what is... you mainly do portraits, though, right?
Yeah, so I'm kind of a... 2-trick pony, 3-trick. I'm not very strong. I'm not good at lettering, stuff like that. I've never been good with symmetry. I don't know. Something in my brain doesn't work well with like repetitions and stuff. And something about portraits and natural stuff. That's just the asymmetry of it. And I could just do it. I found when I started doing portrait work back in it was like mid 90s, no one was really, there were some artists that were really successful at it, that were locally, especially, that were doing, like in Seattle, there was a couple guys I could name. There's like Brian, who did my arm, was doing it. And someone brought in this realistic image of a video game cover of like a biomechanical hair on this woman's face. And everyone's like, I ain't doing it. I'm not doing it. Oh, you do it. And I was like, all right, whatever. So I just basically took some knowledge I had from a print shop class where we learned to separate colors and then kind of make stencils. And I just approached it that way, and it worked, but no one was really doing it. So I stumbled across a formula that worked, and it brought me a lot of attention to where it sort of, like I was kind of the Gilligan, like portrait, that's it, portrait. And I was happy with it. So I just kind of really stuck with it. And, I've been a portrait guy ever since.
Have you ever done any that you royally fucked up?
Oh yeah. So when I came up and I started tattooing in Washington, I was self-taught, and I went into one of the entryest of entry-level shops that you can go into. Yeah. And was thrusted into walk-ins, like, do it. That was one time they're like, this guy comes in, yeah, I want Speedy Gonzalez's cousin. And the guy's like, hey, you know who that is? And I'm like, yeah, I'm Slowpoke Rodriguez. I remember it. Okay, do it. And I'm like, where's the image? Like, you don't have one. Like, what do you mean? Just do it.
Just draw.
So I had to, like, from memory, draw this like slowpoke. So basically, that's how they force you. And so you just did. So I just did crap work for years and years, and I'm not happy. Similar to stand-up, no matter how funny you get the joke, you're going to be like, how can I make it better? Yeah. What could I have tweaked? So every tattoo is the same way. You're like, shit, I should have did this thing. I screwed up the nose, or I hope they don't, they're not going to see it because I'm looking deeper.
Like anybody ever get furious though?
Not with me. No, I've been very fortunate. They got mad at me. If you look at my online shit, man, people hate my ass, but that's online. That's online. That's the nature of like yelping and stuff like that. That's where you get the weirdest people. But, one time, so at that shop, these two dudes come in, they were fucked up, and they were Puerto Rican brothers, and they wanted the Puerto Rican flags. And so I'm like, well, all right. And then they had a CD, like a compact disc of Puerto Rican's favorite salsa songs or whatever. And there was the outline of the Puerto Rican flag, the star and the triangle with the stripes. So I outline it. The guy fucking passes out. I couldn't wake him up. I'm like, come on, dude. Like, come on. So I was like, fuck it. I was so annoyed. I just colored the stripes. But if you picture it like this, like there's a triangle and then there's like 5 stripes. I painted the wrong ones blue and the wrong ones white, if that makes sense. Yeah. I like inverted them just because I had to fill I had to fill blue because the other ones were white. So I just do the 2 because it's less than 3. I'll get them out of here. Yeah. So he comes back and he's just like, he's like, oh man, I had to go to the Puerto Rican Pride Parade with the shit on my arm. He's like, everyone's going to think a gypsy did it. I was like, oh, that's interesting. A gypsy. So anyway, he comes back and I was like, I'm going to fix it. I'm going to put these bongos. I got this big plan. And he comes back and he's like, everybody loved it. I don't want to touch a thing. I was like, wow, you went to the Puerto Rican Day Pride Parade with the messed up Puerto Rican flag and it worked.
Yeah.
It worked.
Yeah. People don't think about that shit as
I guess. That was the one where I was like, oh, I really fucked up. Like that was early on too. And I was like, oh, what did you just do? You screwed this. I have misspelled one name in almost 30 years. One word.
Yeah.
And I fixed that. It was an easy fix. I've been really fortunate that with portraits, you have it. It's right here. All you have to do is put it over here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's hard to mess that up.
Yeah, I had a lettering issue on one of mine.
What'd they do?
It's supposed to say sleep is the cousin of death, and there was an E on the end of cousin.
Right cuisine of death.
Yeah. But it got filled in.
Oh, cool. Yeah, you can't tell.
You'd see.
You can tell. It looks good.
Yeah.
I like the beatbox.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you have nice tattoos.
I was fucking driving home. I had sent a picture to my buddy, and he goes, what's the E? And it was a mutual friend with our tattooer, and I love this dude. Like he does great tattoos, like awesome guy. He's been on the podcast before.
Cool. Yeah, he does.
Yeah, dude, he's the best. And I call it. He was so fucking mad at himself. I'm like, dude, it's not. And he just felt. We got very lucky because it was an E on the end,
But it's a bad feeling.
Oh, it's not.
It's a shitty feeling because you did it to somebody else.
But he gave, to his credit, he gave it to me, and I looked at it, and I just I was like, yeah, it's good, and just so I cleared it.
Yeah, that's our backup plan. That's like sweet.
Yeah, exactly.
You didn't pay attention either, see?
Okay. Did you have any specific stories you want to tell? If so, I can transition us into the story section.
I mean, honestly, I was racking my brain like, oh God, what stories can I tell? My wife's going to be listening to this. Not that I've never done anything wrong like that. Like, it was very weird the first time.
Hold on. We got a transition though.
Okay.
I got a sound cue for you, buddy.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You ready?
It's story time. It's story time with Adam. Yeah, it's story time. It's story time with Adam and friends.
All right. Your wife's going to listen to this.
That was a great intro. I feel like my story isn't worthy of such a great intro. No, I was just going to talk about tattooing school. I have an incredible wife. I won the wife lottery. I really did. And I kind of knew it one day, the first time she came into my shop, and I had like a stripper in my chair, fully exposed with I think she may have had like a little sticker over her nipple, but she's just hunched over backwards. I'm tattooing her ribs, and this microphone's like literally where her boob is. It's like in my face.
All up in your face.
And then all of a sudden I just look up and my wife is standing right there. It was the first time, before she was my wife, it was the first time that part of my job was introduced to our relationship.
In your face and in her face.
In her face too. And you know what she did? She said, hey, honey. She leaned over, gave me a kiss, and told me what she needed to tell me, and then went about her business.
Yeah.
Because she knew I wasn't going to do anything. But I was like, okay, what stories can I tell? What stories can I tell? There's a lot of gross ones, dude.
That's fine, dude.
Okay, I can tell you why I stopped piercing.
Okay.
This is a famous story that I tell for some weird, dumb reason. But so when I first opened the shop in 2000, I worked with a guy named Peter Dominguez. Rest in peace, Pete. We miss you. He was a great dude, really cool tattooer, and my right-hand man for many, many, many years. And we did the piercing, he and I. We had a guy that was going to be our piercer that passed away right before I opened, named Al D, who was out here in Seattle. He was really well-known, very, very accomplished piercer. And so we had to take over, just take the ball and run with it. So we start fucking piercing people with, it was just ridiculous what we were doing. Just anything. It was a free-for-all. And at the time...
What's your least favorite thing to pierce?
Anything. After this story, you'll get it.
Okay.
There's nothing pierceable that you couldn't pay me. Like piercing and changing jewelry are different. There's different smells. But I don't like piercing bloody stuff. I haven't pierced in, gosh, it's been probably 20 years since I pierced anybody. But and bloody things like tongues, that's gross to me. I don't like people's mouths. I don't like that kind of stuff. Well, this lady called and she said, I'm trying to get, I could do a really cute voice if I want to.
Go.
I'm not really good. I'm supposed to come in today and get my hood pierced by Peter, but Peter was sick. And she's like, I'm supposed to get a tattoo, but I took the day off. And I was like, well, come on in. We'll see what we can do. And I was like, okay, I think this was like the first time I was ever going to pierce that area too. It was just like, I'm not even kidding. It's embarrassing to put this out there, but it was like a free for all in the late 90s and stuff. And so she comes and she's about 5'2", 280, and I'm like, oh, great. She has her friend with her. So I'm like, okay, cool. This is fine. So she comes in there and sits down. She's really nervous. I said, well, you gotta disrobe so we can check you out. And so she takes her pants off and she's like tight legged. I was like, okay, you gotta open up. This lady spread her legs as wide as she could, and I couldn't see anything. She had so much inner thigh like stuff going on. And so I was like, oh gosh.
Hair or what?
Skin, fat. Just her body was not in good shape.
Yeah, yeah.
And so like even with her legs spread, I couldn't, it was just skin to skin. And so I said, oh, man, I got to come up with a way to be gentle about this. So I said, I need you to kind of just dig in like this and just sort of,
just pull it back.
And I'm telling you, I'm going to gag telling you the story, but she did it. And it was like, it was as if somebody opened the gates of hell. Ugh. It was this instant horrible smell and what looked like someone hawked a big loogie into like an oyster, but it opened like a freshly grilled cheese sandwich. It was like stuck phlegmy to the sides, and it was the worst thing I'd ever seen as far as anatomy goes. It was so horrible. I'm not even kidding. I almost gagged on her. I was like, my eyes are watering.
Dude, I'm starting.
Yeah. And so I had to tell her I couldn't do it. I had to make up an excuse like, hey, your anatomy's not going to allow for healing. Da, 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 da. And she was really upset. So this is the best part. I said, well, you should come back tomorrow and talk to Pete. Maybe Pete can do it, because I wanted him to see this.
Yeah.
And it was the following day that I hired my piercer, and I'm done. It was so bad. It was like traumatizing. It was like traumatizing.
Yeah.
She was probably
so Pete 50s. Didn't see her.
She came back the next day, and then and I was just it was like a prank I was playing on him. Like I couldn't wait to see his reaction. But she must have been so embarrassed. I guess she cleaned herself up or whatever. He said it wasn't. When I explained to him, he's like, no, it was a lot what you're saying with the skin, but not the rest of it. But that was always weird. Genitalia stuff was always weird.
Did you ever have to do a dick?
I've never pierced one, but I've tattooed 2 of them.
Really?
Another good story. I shouldn't be telling these people stories, but he might not even be alive. I had this really old dude come into the shop years ago, and he's like, I'm trying to get, do you guys pierce tattoo penises? And the front desk were kind of clowning him because he was in his 80s. And he's like, no, I'm serious. Like, this is a tattoo shop, right? And I'm overhearing it because my station's right there. And I'm like, well, hey, man, are you serious? And he's like, yeah, there's 6 of us and we want it done. So I said, okay, $200 each. $200 each. We'll do them. Don't worry about it.
What was the tattoo?
It was a little outline of an angel, like a cookie cutter, kind of just a shape of an angel. And I'm like, yeah, well, I had a girl that was working there from Germany, and she was really like progressive. So I was like, yeah, we'll let Ons do it. But then Ons like, I can't do that. My husband's Christian. Like, I'm not going to tattoo that. So I was like, oh, damn it. No one else would do it. So I was like, fuck, I'm already like.
So you tattooed $1,200 worth of dicks?
I said, okay, fuck it. $1,200. Yeah, I'll do it. Come on. That's hooker math. For those listening at home, that's hooker math. And so
that's great. That's how quickly my mind went to that too. Yeah.
Yeah, that's hooker math. That's like, oh, I wouldn't do that bachelor party, but there's 10 of them and I could, So I said, well, what's the story?
Dude, you said you tattooed 2 penises.
Hold on.
This is now up.
I know they're growing. They're growing. No pun intended. What happened was I said, what's the deal? And he says, well, We were all widow. This is a really true story, I promise. We were all widows and widowers. And on New Year's Eve every year, we take Viagra and we have an orgy. And we pass each other's women around and we just have sex together. Every year, it's our thing. Where there's a club of us. And like my girl that I bring was the sergeant, my best friend from the Army in Korean War or whatever, like my sergeant. He was such a dick to me, but we became friends. When he died, I got his wife. And I take her. And she said she wanted to kiss an angel. And so all the guys got together and said, hey, let's tattoo an angel on our dicks. And so I know. And so I was like, fuck it, $1,200. It's no big deal. So he shows up alone, just him. I'm like, dude, where's the other 5 guys?
Where's the $1,000?
Where's my other
cock?
5 penises? Yeah. You're short about $1,000 worth of cock here, pal. So, basically he said they all pushed out. And so I was like, fuck, I got to do it. I don't care. Whatever. It's just a piece of skin, you know? And so
How big was it?
It wasn't. It was old man penis. I mean, I don't even, it was about the same size as old man penises usually are. So I have this book and I put it in I wrapped it in a dental bib and plastic wrap. And I had him hold the book and I had to put his penis on top and it was flaccid. Just, you know, I didn't like, there was no fluffing
for it. Yeah.
No fluffing. And, I remember it was the fastest tattoo I'd ever done. And all he said was, that's smarts. That's what old people say when it hurts. That's smarts. And so I was like, okay, get the fuck out of here.
Did he come?
Of course he came. What do I look like an amateur?
What part of the penis though?
Right on the head of the penis.
Oh, the head?
The sensitive part, the part that would hurt the most, I would think. Like I wouldn't do it. I don't want it done. To me, it's just like if it ain't broke kind of scenario.
Yeah. Is that the most painful place to get one?
It's smarts. I don't know. I don't have it there. For me,
well, for you,
my experience tattooing people, the throat,
the head is too, right?
I haven't had people complain much about that, but like the lower rib by the love handle area gets a lot of hate.
Yeah.
For women, the feet get a lot of hate. I hated the wrist, man. Do you have your wrist on?
No.
Not low enough to know. The top side's nothing. Do you have your ditch? You got this, right?
This fucking.
Yeah. How about the elbow?
This. A little bit.
He was kind to you. He went around your elbow like a good friend.
Yeah. This part right here was just like, fuck.
Did he do your biggie? That's sick. Yeah. I love it. Yeah, I love it.
Lance Netherland.
Lance did it.
Not a great speller, but
yeah, just look at his last name.
Yeah, he's fucking great though. Well, shit, man. I think that's all I cool. had questions for you. Is where can people find your stuff?
So, oh man, my website got jacked. The person doing my website, Slack, they stole my domain name. They want like $3,000 to get my domain name back. I'm so pissed. I had the same website for 20-something years. Right now, you could just find me at Rich White on Instagram. You could follow Richie Spychala, SPYCHALA on Facebook. That's my comedy page. Action Tattoo and Body Piercings in Auburn. We're there 7 days a week. Come see us.
If you do fucking shower ahead of time.
Yes, please. Yes, please. And $200 is $200, buddy. So just show up in bulk, okay?
Dude, thank you for coming on.
Hey, thank you for having me. This was a blast. This was worth the drive.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. And if you are just listening to us, make sure to rate and review us wherever you're listening.
And subscribe.
If you're watching us on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, hit the notifications bell so you don't miss our content. And then if you have a question for Richie or myself, throw it in there. We'll do our best to get it answered. We're also on Patreon, patreon.com/FNFpod. And as always, follow us on Instagram at FNFpod.
And I got one more. I forgot. May 28th at the McMinimans in Tacoma, I'm opening for Jimmy Shin. So come one, come all. That's going to be a fun show.
Yeah, there'll be towels. I'm not sure when this is dropping. It might be out by then. So
whatever. If not.
If not, that's a show that you missed.
Yeah, you should have been there.
All right. Hey, thanks so much for coming on, man. We're going to leave you guys with Jaga.
I just make the waves, I don't write them. I can hear the lyrics in my spirit as I write them. Why you wanna walk and talk just like them? I can't get caught up in all the hype and the excitement. I just make the waves, I don't write them. I can hear the lyrics in my spirit as I write them. Why you wanna walk and talk just like them? I can't get caught up in all the hype and the excitement. My wave pool, my wave pool. Welcome to 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 my wave pool, my wave pool.